When did your dad know that he wanted to go into broadcasting? At what age and how did that all come about?
I had an opportunity when I was a young guy to see a thesis my dad wrote at Roosevelt Junior High School, that in 9th grade he said that he wanted to be in radio and that he wanted to be a big fish in a small pond. And I said, pretty much, Dad did exactly what he said he wanted to do way back in 9th grade.
So when do you know when he started at KFIZ? When about that was in his life, and how did he get into it? Was there a help wanted ad, or did he just contact them and say, "Hey, this is my dream"?
He was he must have been about 18 years old, and Fairbanks, I think his name is Lucille Fairbanks, was the head of the radio station, and Dad got a chance to do some radio work then, and just started filtering into it. Then he told me the story about when they gave him the sports announcing, and that was a big deal because they took it away from somebody who had been there, and there wasn't nice things said. There were some hostilities back in the day, but that's way back. We're talking now. Let's see. Dad said he retired at 62. He's 97 now. And I asked him, I said, would you retire at 62 if you knew you were going to? No, I thought I'd be dead in 5 years. So here he is now, you know. So Dad must have started, well, let's see. He got married. Well, he had 47 years active duty, okay, on a thing. And Dad, I don't know how many hours he worked because he worked the early morning shift and then go off to do football games, basketball games, get home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and back at the station at 4:35 in the morning. Many nights did I say hi to Dad on the way out as I was coming in high school. He'd be going, you just getting in? Yeah. You just going out? Yeah. So yeah, we had some funny times because I had one time I had a few too many beers and a big 18 drinking back then, and the guys were going to put me in the garage. I said, no, my dad will run over me. He'll never see that I'm laying in the garage. Can't do that. But yeah, so Dad started way back in the day. And Lucille Fairbanks, I know, is a guy who was one of the early guys who ran the station and stuff. And I forget, though, who was the sports announcer that got pulled. And that was a big deal. Dad was really excited, but it also caused some issues. But he did it for 25 years, so apparently wasn't enough issues to. Yeah, Dad definitely became the personality in the area. I mean, and then he with Ron Harvey and Doug McGrath, and then they used to naturally, back in those days they had engineers, so they always put those guys in, you know. They were real characters to begin with, too. But, they just, I mean, when you take a look and go back and look at Fenwick Fluke and Josh Crunchmeyer and Jose Gazario and all these names Dad used, and people thought they were different people. They didn't even know it was who the hell it was, playing those polkas in the morning for the farmers. Still got farmers, 78 years old. Oh, you listen to your dad every morning up in the mug barn. And that was Dad's deal.
How did he come up with those characters?
God knows. I mean, I don't know where he came up. I guess he said I better have something Spanish. Let's go with Jose Gazario. And, you know, Fenwick Fluke had to be a real dandy. Josh Crunchmeyer was just a German name for Josh Crunchmeyer Band, you know. Playing poker. Oh, man. Not some of my favorite music, but a lot of farmers loved it. They loved it. They milked those damn cows with the polka.
Crunchmeyer in particular. So it was, I mean, just talk about that character and how wildly popular that became.
Well, Josh Crunchmeyer was a Saturday at lunchtime, and they opened up. It was, the station was still above the Commonwealth Reporter, so they had the big room, and they used to have people come up there and they'd throw a little spread of, you know, sausage and cheese and crackers and some libations, and then everybody would join in, so you have a crowd in the background. But oh my gosh, they pulled shenanigans. I mean, it was. Well, the couple of good ones that I remember as a kid was he was going to be playing. Josh Crunchmeyer was playing at the opening of the Houston Astrodome. He'd say Houston Astrodome. We're going to be opening up there, and it's a big thing. You sit down there in Houston, and we're going to be down there. That was one thing, and then the thing that really got funny was he was going to take a bus tour, and you could sign up for a bus tour through the Holy Lands here. And the next thing you know, they had people from St. Peter, Mount Calvary, St. Cloud, all signing up for the bus tour, $39. They had all these checks, and they had to return them all because there was going to be no bus tour. They just had fun, and they brought the community in with it, and everybody knew somebody. They would talk about certain business people, and it was really. And the thing that was nice about a radio station was most of those people were advertisers, so you were constantly using their name and what they did. And I know back in the day, this was kind of funny because down below the radio station was the bar. I think it was Commander Bar, and it's right behind where the combined building is. There was a bar in that corner, and I was going to St. Joseph's School, and I was in 4th grade then, and I got a deal with my dad. Would let me come over to Commander Bar, and I'd get a cheddar cheese sandwich on rye, a bowl of chili, and an orange, and I ate that every day. And people would ask me, "Where are you going?" "I got to go get lunch." And I was sitting at a bar at 4th grade eating my lunch, and Dad had a tab, so I just ran the tab. Another time, I was a baseball player, and I think it was 6th grade or whatever, and I told my dad I needed a new glove. So he told me to go over to Hopper's Sports Shop, and he said, pick something out and put it on my tab. Back in those days, you didn't have credit cards, but you had tabs at Ahern's, for clothing, and Brower's and Sports Shop and different stores. And I remember going in there with a buddy of mine from St. Joseph's. I ended up buying a $65 Marty Marion Rawlings glove. It was first class. It was $65. That was a big deal back then. I played with that thing through high school. I mean, that's how good the glove was. It was, but Dad used to get that. And another thing that's kind of funny about the old boy, I never wore jeans because the only place he had charge accounts was Ahern's men's clothing or Brower's men's clothing. So I always wore business slacks. My wife, when she married me, said, "Do you have any jeans?" I said, "No. Got a lot of pants though, or you got it all the way up." That's some of the crazy stuff back in those days. Everybody had if you were well known, you had your own charge accounts. Thank God for that. I had charge accounts everywhere. I was burning them pretty good.
Did he have any opportunities to move on to bigger markets? And if yes, well, how come he never went?
I think the thing was he was doing exactly what he wanted to do, and stepping out to go to a bigger market such as Chicago or whatever. And I don't know, his big thing was radio wasn't paying money enough. You move your family from Fond du Lac to Chicago, you better have a good income. I mean, because you can double or triple your income and you're not going to survive in that cost. So I think that was one issue. But I think the number one issue was he liked exactly what he was doing. And the people he worked with. And those guys all had a good time together. And I heard a lot of conversations that probably shouldn't be heard by young kids with the radio business. It was a good field back in those days. It was, a lot of guys, everybody had a personality, and everybody had their following. Some people liked this guy, didn't like this guy, no different than, but I said, today everything's so electronic that, you don't know anybody locally, very few. And they don't want to pay talent. So what do you get?
And what was it about this community? And he certainly, I mean, been here his whole life, and obviously served it so well through the radio station. What is it about Fond du Lac that Joe loves so much and still does?
I think the fact that exactly what he thought would happen, everybody knew him. So I mean, when he walked down Main Street, people would be yelling out of cars and everything else, at him, or wherever he went, people all knew him. So I mean, that's pretty cool, and my buddies in high school, I mean, they gave me a rash all the time about the old man's, in, it's out, it's in, it's out. What is it? I said, they'll get there. But I said, today you listen to some of these guys, and Johnson over to Jones back over to Johnson. There's no, Dad got excited. He enjoyed it. So it comes across, and I think today you're not getting that, I think that some of the guys they had later did a decent job, but then it just sort of dissipates, And I guess maybe stations have trouble making money, doing some of these sports things, if you're not tied into it and you're not promoting it. So I would say that the number one thing for Dad was the fact that he became exactly what he wanted to become, a well-known fish in a small pond. And he got a lot of friendships, coaches up and down the valley, and other, radio announcers that were out there, HBY, and some of those up in Appleton, Green Bay, and but knowing all the coaches and stuff, Donnie Gaz, and then Gaz moved on, and Massey, and some of those guys up in Menasha and McClone. Those guys were all crazy too. I mean, screaming and hollering, and today's game. I mean, you can't really yell at the kids like they did in those days. In those days, the kids screw up, woo! Mom and Dad just had to shut their eyes and go, Coach is going to blame him for that one, and that was part of it in those days. So, yeah, I think Dad might have. But the thing about it is, we wondered why he didn't stay with sports announcing and get rid of the early morning show, so he could do it longer. But I think the travel is just, he got sick of the travel. So he liked going into the radio station in the morning and let her rip, say whatever the hell he wanted. And most of the bosses weren't awake until about it. The show was about ending, and then they have to hear later in the day if anything went bad. He got away with a lot of stuff.
What about his working relationship with Ron Harvey, and what memories do you have just about in Ron in particular, both on and off the air?
I think they were pretty close. I mean, they didn't do a lot outside of work. That wasn't the big deal. I think they respected each other. They had the same complaints, that you're all working at the same place, just like employees do, that, what they liked, what they didn't like. There was a time, and I don't know if you want to put this in there, but there was a time, and I won't necessarily management, who was managing at the time, but Dad was sort of keeping an eyeball on the cash for the Langs, and there was a purchase made of like 10,000 Christmas albums. And Dad went just ape. He went ape. We get those for free. Why the hell did you order 10,000? I was there for that, and I thought, Dad's coming home today. This isn't going to make it. He's going to be gone. Now, I will tell you one of the stories, though, that was pretty good. Dad was very, he told the Langs, don't buy a TV station. He said, buy the FM station, control radio. He said, we can't compete. There's a good example. Where was people thinking? You got all the Green Bay stations pumping in here, all the Milwaukee stations pumping in here, and you're going to open up a UHF station and compete? Made no sense. Dad said, if you get that, that FM station, now we got the radio locked up, now we can do a lot of stuff with it. They lost a lot of money. They lost a lot of money with the TV station. And he was right. But he had a show with Henry Jordan one year, and he had a couple of Packer programs. Carter, the linebacker, was one of his 1 year get. So he did some of that stuff. I was out of area then. I think I was in the Air Force when that was going on. But no, Dad, even though Dad wasn't top management, he definitely spoke his mind about what, because he thought it was his livelihood. It was what he wanted to build. They would have been much better off getting that radio station and not bringing a competitor right across town. Of course, Ron Harvey and all those guys escaped then. I went there. So, broke up the team.
Any final thoughts on his career?
I'm glad that Dad hasn't seen, I guess, what's transpired now. I mean, where the station is, so much has changed. He knows it. He knew it was coming, and I think that's probably why at 62 he got out, because he saw that it wasn't going to be real people anymore. It was going to be canned stuff, buying up, different segments, and who's going to run this and that. And, radio's not what it used to be. Even the big boys are all canned now. So, yeah, I think Dad's probably very happy. He's content, even though he's at this end of his life. That he hasn't forgotten a damn thing. I mean, I've had Dick Diener out there, Dick Bester, all these guys that were coaches, and Larry Schaefer from Oakfield, and they've gone out there and sat down and talked to Dad. He hasn't forgotten a lick. They talk about every game they did and what happened here, what happened there. And he's reading 3 newspapers a day, which is not much in the newspapers, so that's not a big read anymore. But it costs like $7 for us to bring newspapers out to him every day, and there's nothing in them. You know what I'm saying? You get the Journal, the Reporter, and he likes the USA Today. Just bring the USA Today. That's got more of the stuff I want to read anyway. And yeah, it cost $7 at Walgreens for those 3 newspapers. First time I went over and did it, my sister usually did it. I go, $7? What? I don't have enough here for me toilet paper. I mean, I could be better off buying 24 rolls of toilet paper than this. And the fact that he misses nothing. I'll go to him like when Whispering Springs, when Mark Trepanier sold it. I'm friends with Mark. I didn't know he sold it. I haven't been out there, but I didn't know he sold it. Dad said, Trepanier sold it, Whispering Springs. No, I would have heard something. He sold it. I'm serious. Sure. Ended up being he sold it. I said, I'll be damned, Dad. How do you... Apparently somebody put in that newspaper. I don't know how they got in there. Probably accident. But no, I think back in the days when I think Dad was lucky too, because he liked the Langs. The Langs were good people to him. And then after the old boy got out, then his kid took over. And when Don Jones took over, he liked Don Jones. Probably why Dad never left too is he liked the people that were... I don't think he ever felt threatened that he was going to lose a job. And the fact that he'd go almost anywhere in town and raise hell with the owner, get him to buy some advertising. The other guys couldn't do it, so Dad would get it done. He probably could have made a better living being an ad man. Take a cut of the action. So that's what I would say. Dad his finest. Well, the night that the St. Mary Springs beat Xavier, that was in 1965. Xavier had a 57-game winning streak, basketball. And Dad was going to do the Fond du Lac game. And he said, you know what? I have a feeling the Springs are going to beat damn Xavier tonight. I'm going to take that game. and damn if they didn't beat him. And that probably would have been his finest moment.